Just hit record, let's go. I wasn't planning on recording, but I thought I should commemorate this day. Here, let me show you what I'm using. From my buddy Scuttle Soap, Old Bushmalt. I think I used it the first time. I used it, was on camera. This is the second time I used it. I just thought, but if you don't follow my journal on the Shaving Cadre, shame on you. If you don't get your hair cut at Hombres, you probably don't live in Tucson, I guess. I don't know. But if you do, that's where you should go. Go see my buddy Dave. You guys can chat it up about wet shaving. Or, I don't know, Corvettes, old man surgeries, cigars, scotch. He likes to talk a big game. He drinks bourbon too, though. So if you're just a regular Joe, that can be your thing. He works in the retirement community, so he's probably getting very knowledgeable about golf carts. While we're talking about my sponsorship here, he pretty much came out and said there's a huge neon sign coming my way that will go right in the general area instead of this. So looking forward to that. That will be cool. I hope it's not too good. I hope it's not like red and yellow and look like a beer. So it's got to be very. I guess you could do brown. You can do anything in neon. In fact, do they even use neon now? Now the whole new thing is they got like those twisty plastic LED things. Anyway, the big deal about today is that we're back in this shaving den. I haven't been paying attention to my lather at all, just yapping away here. I don't have much going on here. That's all right. I'm a professional. We'll just deal. We'll deal with it. So if you weren't following my journal, you heard on my last video I went through a medical procedure thing, but that didn't keep me out of the den. Haven't missed a day of shaving yet. But the oldest went to her school's prom, which another local school had their prom a week beforehand. And what a lot of schools are doing now, I didn't know this was a thing. They rent out like a big ship and go out on the San Francisco Bay. So they're, captive, which I guess is good for, they can't go out behind the gym and smoke the ganja. But they're kind of captive in that the other school had a decent sized outbreak of COVID right afterwards. Because duh. Oh, Titleist, back to the Titleist, baby. Titleist Essence. Essence by Titleist. So we had just gone to masks for the school district. Highly recommended inside, not required. Just recently made that switch. After that outbreak, they were like, masks required at your prom, buddy. So masks were required inside, except for they had a seated dinner. Which I guess you have to feed the Rugrats. But again, it's like, it doesn't matter what activity you're doing. If masks are off, masks are off. And they had to be tested negative within 3 days or less before going. So cool. And they tested them at the pier right before they got on the ship. Right? She came back. 2 days later, seemed like she had a cold or allergies or something. Even tested her negative. It wasn't going away. Then all of a sudden people pop positive Ended up, she tested positive. So she had COVID. So at the time, it was a big thing because we heard there's like 30 people that were positive with COVID. So anyway, we, restricted, did the old lockdown in her room, gave her this shaved in so she wasn't sharing with the other children. And so anyway, what's interesting about this? So anyway, so she's negative now. Everybody else in the house is negative. So all good, all good. But what's interesting is after the 30 people, a day or two later, we heard it was like 46. And now apparently it's up to 90 people got COVID at this, presumably at this one event. Because they was all there, so that makes sense. But it's interesting, the Department of Health is involved, which is kind of cool to hear about just from a medical point of view and what, not that they haven't had a lot to do for the last 2 years with stuff like this, but because it was such an outbreak and because they took such precautions, they're calling folks and really looking into this. Like, how in the world, if everybody tests negative right before they get on the ship, could there be an outbreak like this? So I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we will never hear what they find. I have to imagine they might not find a smoking gun because, you got high school kids given a swab and told to rub it in their noses. And I mean, you could turn and I would just say it's probably not highly supervised when you're at a pier with people getting ready to get on for an event and all that stuff. So I would say it's very likely that somebody would have been positive if they tested appropriately. But it's interesting to see how quickly and what a large group of people was affected by who knows how many positive folks. So I didn't really mean this to be an all COVID talk. I haven't done one for a while, and it's not going to be complaining. So don't worry. And we're almost done with the shave. Last pass, Dave. I'm keeping track. But it's very interesting because it is kind of a sign of what's going on everywhere, that it's trying to get back to normal activities with some precautions in place that make sense, even though our numbers are going back up and it's spreading more now, right? Our hospital number, we had no COVID patients for a while, not anymore. So, but given the vast majority of people are not ending up in the hospital to get COVID now, like I said, it's like a nothing or a severe cold or whatever for most people. But it is interesting, another phase of what's going on of like, let's try to keep normal events and put things in place with proof that this thing's a booger and there's only so much you can do. There's only so much you can do. But I think the scary part is people say, well, geez, look, precautions didn't work. Why make them do anything in the first place? We're just inconveniencing people and all that stuff. I have your opinion. But you can't state that as fact. You can't state it didn't work. In this case, a whole bunch of people got COVID. What if they didn't have that? What if they didn't do tested? I don't know. I would argue potentially the whole dang boat would have had COVID because they were inside all at the same time eating a meal and all that stuff. So you can't extrapolate from one to the other. But anyway, celebrating back in my own den. It was rough. I did in honor of our Canadian chess master. I think we mentioned that before. It's a pretty high honor for the cadre. Samuel "the Fish" Sharp We found out that's his chest nickname yesterday, the fish. Trying to decide if I want to ask why, or it's just better to come up with reasons why in my own head. He's a 317er. He'll start using the soap, and regardless of how much he enjoys or does not enjoy it, use it till it's totally gone. So I had a sample I took up to the other bathroom to use, and I used that straight through this whole, I don't know how many was it? I didn't even count, 5 or 6 shaves. It was a slog to get through. But I managed. And I will say, that's not my thing. That's cool. People that do it. What was interesting, so I will say this, and I noticed it after 5 or 6 days. So you don't need to do it for a month to figure this out. But there is something to using the same soap a few days in a row, kind of get to know the lather a little bit better. But then when I switched to another soap, the difference was much more apparent because I've become so used to the performance of one soap. But then I switched to another, and it was much creamier and slicker. And I was like, oh, this one nice. But geez, don't want to wait a month to find that out. There we go. I was hoping there's something that was purchased. It was supposed to be delivered yesterday. What are we gonna? Let's see. What have I've been using that. Would use the Quins, which when I mentioned the first time that I used Quins. Again, it's just again from this one. What other one do I have? I'm sorry. I think he sent me lavender. My buddy, my buddy Scuttle Soap, who sent the soap, also sent one of these Quins. I think he sent the lavender one. I've been using the cucumber mint, but very I have to put it on the 2-in-1, just 2 to 3 drops because the hole is kind of big for this type of a thing, and it does. I mean, it's awfully hydrating and stuff. I just don't enjoy the feel of feeling hydrated. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't want to say residue because it's not gross like that, but anyhow. And when I pour 2-in-1, look at that. We're down to the dregs. This poor guy, I don't know, does he drown if he comes out of the water? A little Aquanaut from Kyle. UA Cowboy on the Cadre. But we name dropping like crazy. There's really not a... Don't do it with the lid off. Alrighty. There we go. So I don't know. I might have to consult with Scuttle Soap because don't tell anybody. When it comes to soap, he's a little bit of a lush. It's interesting. He likes the citrus and stuff, but the boozy scents, that guy can't get enough. I will say, this one's very enjoyable. And I don't want to walk around smelling like bourbon or scotch. Now I'm trying to think of what you could pair with this, because when I think of the scents that I have that I can apply now, it's mostly the baking spices, warm type of thing, which is fine. I mean, again, the scent from this is gone already, right? It's more mentally kind of the experience and putting it all together. And you don't have to. I could put on a fougere right now and be just fine. But I don't have what I would consider just the perfect match for this. And that's what I'm trying to think of you don't almost have to be darker and warmer. We'll see someday. I think I'm gonna still be, so I got these the Scents of Wood. I've reviewed these and talked about these before. Praline and maple, that's the one I didn't want. It's a little too sweet for this. So I'll go for a dark one. Papyrus and acacia. Look how dark that is. There you go. We'll do this one. Papyrus. Oh yeah, I got my old the official shave shirt. Not anymore. This is a collector. Not only is this not made anymore because they changed the logo, it's mine. I maybe should auction this off. I could sign the back and silver marker. Anyway, the shave is done. I gotta get to work. See you on the forum.